The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome everyone. I welcome you to the HR Virtual Learning Zone session. Like always, I would request each and every one of you to kindly help me understand whether the audio is clear with everyone. Are you able to hear the audio clearly? Thanks, Brilliant. Thanks, Nayan. Thanks, Srinath.
Hi, Sukrit.
Hi, Samir. So we have started off with the session. We had committed them at 3 o'clock. We'll be starting. So we have just started off with the session.
Okay. So I don't see Dependra in it.
No, Dependra is there.
Yeah, I can.
Ah, okay. But are you able to see each other?
So, Samir, we are live right now to the entire audience bay. So we have started off with the session.
Okay, so I guess that it's best that we continue the way it is, and if the video comes on, then it will be fine. But I think in the interest of time, let's start off.
Yes, everything was working.
So what I'm also trying to do is, I knew this is going to happen, so I'm getting a lot of buzzers. So we'll wait for 5 more minutes because a lot of people are trying to log on and we are already house full.
Sure.
So please allow me 5 more minutes in this session so that I can direct them to the YouTube channel. So that they can make use of the platform and the learning that will come from both of the esteemed speakers who have been kind enough to join us today. I will start with the introduction once I direct everybody onto the YouTube channel, because otherwise it's going to cause a little bit of a disturbance in the middle, because I will be getting a lot of buzzers coming. Okay, so here we are.
Hold it.
So I will start with the session now, the usual way. I would like to welcome each and every one of you once again to the session and the platform of HR VLZ. I would like to thank each and every one of you who had been kind enough to support us throughout the years. And we are marking our 16th episode today. So a quick view of what's in offer today. The session is on best practices in compensation and benefits. It's the number 2 in the series of compensation and benefit. Theme for today is to do more with less and the secret behind optimizing the budget utilization for organizational success. We have with us 2 esteemed and eminent speakers and HR professionals who are highly sought after. So I would like to welcome Dependra, Mathur and Samir Gadgil. Dependra heads the He's the VP and Head of Compensation and Benefit and International HR of Infosys BPO. A quick look at his profile. Dependra, an MBA from IIM Bangalore, has varied work experience ranging over 24 years, covering human resource and business, and has been with Infosys for the last 8 years. His experience covers working in leading organizations like Infosys BPO, Wipro, VP Peripherals Limited, and Tata Motors in various capacities. He heads compensation and benefit and international HR function at Infosys BPO. He led the HR efforts at Infosys BPO in 3 different global mergers and acquisitions programs, which led the organization to win globally renowned Optimus Award in 2012 for managing change and in 2013 for innovative compensation program. Dependra won the HR Leadership Award at the 5th Employer Branding Award Summit in 2010-11. He's GPHR certified from SHRM and has been accredited with Belbin Team Role certification.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dependra, for joining. We also have with us Samir Gadgil. He is the VP HR of Wipro Technologies. Samir has been associated with Wipro since May 2009. He was also the Pune location head HR since August 2011. In his 16 plus years of total industry experience, he has worked on various facets of HR consulting and line HR roles. During the last 4 years of consulting stint, he had worked on assignments that involved designing balanced scorecard, HR strategy formulation, organization structuring for established and startup organizations, performance management design system, competency mapping, compensation benchmarking study, manpower realization, and executive search and selection for clients across sectors. In the line HR role, he has worked as HR BP, recruiting manager, compensation benefit head, and as locational HR head. He was the HR spoke of the entire acquisition-related work that happened when Wipro acquired City Technology Services in 2008. Previously, Samir has been associated with organizations like Cedar, Management Consulting, PwC, Godrej, and Boyce Manufacturing Company. So I would like to welcome Dependra and Samir to our session and would like to thank them for their kind support to the cause of professional development. So Dependra and Samir, I welcome you to HR Virtual Learning Zone.
Thanks, Sukrit.
Thank you, Sukrit, and good afternoon and welcome to all the people who have joined in into the session. This session, which is about using the limited budgets that all of us have as more effectively as possible, is it's a very challenging topic, and I'm sure that you would have all faced the challenge in the respective organizations that you've been working with. So briefly going through the agenda, we would talk about what this session is really about. Talking about that the changes which happen on the business side are the ones which really make big influences on the HR strategy. What are the challenges for compensation and benefits, and how do we go about supporting business effectively from our roles as compensation and benefits professionals? So moving on to the next slide, which is about the changing IT business scenario. What has really happened in the IT and the ITES era business is that the business, which was primarily based on cost arbitrage, and countries like India or China or Philippines providing good technology solutions at lower cost than what was available in the developed markets, is now changing. In the world where there is so much of transformation because of technology, big data, analytics, and mobility, the fact is that the demand on IT and the ITES business is changing in a very big way. Today, customers are looking for different kind of skills Today customers are looking for different kind of outputs which an IT or the ITES company is going to be actually going to offer. But what that has also led about is with the focus on innovation, the spread of IT is moved across only the low-cost, high-technology countries to virtually across the world. So today, in the IT or the ITES space, we have people who are working and delivering work to our clients across the world. And it is not only limited to India, China, or Philippines, but it's also there in the Western markets. It's there in all the developed markets. Now, with all these changes, life has become very complex for HR. Ultimately the role of HR is to help business provide these kind of solutions to its own clients. And the role which HR plays, speaking very broadly, is about how do you attract, how do you retain, and how do you motivate talent. And that is the key question which is being asked today, the way it has been asked in all industries all across the world at all different points of time. So moving on to the next slide. Now, in this scenario of cost containment, in this scenario, how do you actually manage talent to ensure that we have a proposition to our employees, to our customers, and to our shareholders, which is sustainable, which is long-term, and which balances the needs of all the stakeholders. At the cost containment side, while there would be a lot of pressure to keep costs low and to bring up profits, there are varying demands from talent, and talent management has assumed proportions of importance which are unheard of, unseen of in the last few decades that the industry has really grown. So there is a focus on the cost side towards standardization. There is competition, there is financial risk, etc. But on the talent side, how do you ensure that we are able to provide the innovation, we are able to provide the differentiation and the growth that the business really requires? Moving on to the next slide. One way that we have seen for us is that, and this is something which is true across all industries, is that if all of us, if our respective companies have a strong employee value proposition, which is called the EVP, it can really help in channelizing resources and efforts towards the right direction. Now, all of us, all the people who are there in the call, I presume would be working in some company, and each of those companies are today existing and have been thriving in an economy with, of course, its own sets of challenges. But the fact is that these companies are all alive and they are all there in the market. These companies would not be alive and working if each of these companies did not attract, retain, or motivate talent. And therefore, in each of our companies, there would be something which is the employee value proposition. Sometimes it may not be articulated well, or sometimes it might be something which is hidden, or something which employees might talk about it, but it may not be formal. But the fact is, all of our organizations have an employee value proposition. The employee value proposition of a large IT company would be different from a startup. It would be different from a public sector unit. Each of the companies might have its own set of reasons why people join, stay, and are motivated to work, because all kinds of industries and all kinds of companies are there in the market and are subsisting. So, for example, the employee value proposition of a startup might be about excitement. It might be about being flexible and being able to do a lot of things. So therefore, the rewards for these industries are usually around a mid-term to a long-term gain. The salaries may not be very high, but for people who do well in those companies, and the company actually does well, there is bounties to be made in terms of increasing their own personal wealth of the people. And the city that I am in currently, that is Bangalore, there are many hundreds of those people who have gained from startups and have gained from ESOPs in different companies. So that's as far as a startup is concerned. And an IT company might have a value proposition around exposure to global clients and things which are about learning, continuous development, meeting all top clients, etc. And similarly, public sector units might have their own value proposition. What is important for us as HR professionals is to decide and to really understand what is the value proposition which the talent perceives in exchange for the effort and time, because that would really help in differentiating investments on hygiene factors and motivational factors. Now, what that also means is that all of us would be having limitations in terms of our budgets. And the important thing is that how do I put in my money or my efforts and my resources towards something which gives me the biggest bang for my buck. An investment in a well-defined and well-communicated EVP provides the highest ROI for total rewards. And when we look at total rewards, it's not just compensation and it's not just benefits, it's also work life, it's also performance and recognition, and development and career, which are opportunities for all of us to enhance our EVP. So the starting point for any of discussions around where to put in our money is primarily around what is the employee value proposition, what is it that we are building, what is it that we are growing, what is it that we are strengthening. So moving on to the next slide. Which is around challenges for compensation and benefits. So if you look at specific challenges, the specific challenges are around the fact that how do you retain your top talent? So there is top talent which is always in demand, whether the industry is doing well or not doing well, the top talent is always required. How do you fix up the pay stay? How do you do cost optimization? How do you ensure that the career paths for the people is well known and well understood? How do you ensure that you provide a long-term career to employees when we as we look at talent management practices? So it's always a big challenge, and I'm sure that we have a lot of conflicting requirements which all of us have to deal with, and therefore the question which is there in the next slide, which is slide number 11. Which is slide number 11, which is around an audience poll. So Sukrit, could you please administer this audience poll, and Samir, could you take over from this slide onwards?
Sure, Dependra. So I'm about to launch the poll now. So I will request everyone in the audience way to kindly use the option that comes up on your screen to choose your answer. So I'm launching the poll now. So like always, we are going to present it to the audience for a minute and a half. So I would request every one of you to kindly use this 1.5 minutes to put in your answers and share it with me. So I'm getting a lot of queries for people who are not able to join in. So I'm trying to make use of this time to also share their link with them. So we are touching 1 minute and we have 95% of votes already polled in. So the remaining 5%, I would request you all to kindly join in as soon as possible and share your insights with us so that we can share the same with our esteemed speakers for the day. So I would now close the poll at the count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm closing the polls now, and I'm sharing the result on the screen. Samir, Dependra, the result is on your screen.
Wow. I wish I was a part of that
So I'm not
2%.
surprised. Yeah. And obviously, as the poll results also show, overwhelming majority of all of us actually face this challenge, where the management demands a lot more from a limited pool of money, which is really offered at our disposal. And Dependra, a few slides ago, and Suprit, if you could switch over to the deck now, did bring up the aspect around balancing that we need to do between the talent management and cost containment pressures that we have. So I hope you remember that, and till such time Sukrit brings that the slide up. Sukrit?
Yeah, I'm just moving. I'm just closing the polls, hiding the results from the screen.
Sure.
Are we on the right screen?
No. Go to the next slide. Yeah, after this. Yeah. Yeah, the slide after this. After the poll.
After the poll, okay. I was sorry.
Yeah.
I was taking it before one. Yeah.
A few slides back, Dipendra did bring up this whole balancing act, or the pulls and the pressures that we have of offering cost containment from an employer perspective, and talent management, which continues to be really a growing challenge, where business is asking more and more resources to be offered so that they manage the talent more effectively. And the employer is also asking, or the senior management is asking for all of us to really put our hats on how can we really optimize our costs effectively. So through this particular slide, we are attempting to really offer a good pictorial depiction of what all options do we really have, where we can do a fair balancing act between the pulls and pressures across cost containment and talent management. So Suprit, if you could animate the slide. Right. So what you see over here is the blue box at the bottom of the slide are really some of the options which we have, where through which we can bring in good cost containment measures. So compliance these days is earning more and more importance, is precisely for this reason. Auditing our own processes, practices is again gaining more and more importance, and unlike erstwhile years where audit used to be seen more as an intruder into your day-to-day activities, today audit is an integral part of our day-to-day activities, where we ourselves invite the audit team to really come and have a look at our processes and operations and help us identify are there any leakages, which are there any opportunities that we have to optimize, to rationalize, to harmonize our policies. Right, organizations, particularly in IT space, we have seen many organizations have grown through multiple acquisitions and mergers. So there is enough opportunity for organizations to really do a self-audit and identify opportunities to harmonize various policies and practices, to rationalize costs, and I'm sure there would be enough and more opportunities for us to plug in certain cost leakages which may be happening in our respective organizations. The third, so those are really the cost containment measures which organizations can take, and whatever money which you can really save from here, because organization in any case would be spending that money, can be pushed over to some of the other initiatives that you see on the top left part of this particular slide, which falls under essentially various initiatives that HR can recommend towards talent management. Wellness and work-life balance is again becoming a lot more prominent in today's day and age. So, and there is enough room for all of us to really do a lot of innovation around offering varied kinds of wellness benefits. Of course, the medical insurance, the retirals, and other life insurance benefits are, I would say, reasonably given things because one has to offer those. Incentive as one of the options that you see over there on the middle right, on the top middle part of the slide, is really something which you can use in a very smart manner to differentiate those aspects of the business which are doing well, which really commands a premium, and you can link it to some tangible business outcomes. So you as business achieve something and you get some incentive. So, but all that money will really come through various cost containment measures which we have to run. So CNB is very, very critically placed in a role which offers them the entire spread of functions where they can pull out costs and offer it to business to roll out many of these benefits which also come within the realm of compensation and benefits. So in most of the organizations we see wellness, work-life balance, incentive programs all fold under the CNB umbrella. So you effectively use your own resources to contain cost and also offer better talent management solution. So so that's really a good pictorial, and what you see as core benefits like our typical short-term incentive plans like bonus plans or variable plans, and the typical salary are certainly core rewards which will never go away. So those in any case will continue, and I would rather treat them as hygiene. So that's really a pictorial representation of the entire balancing act. So moving further to the next slide, coming specifically to how we can really achieve some of these extra benefits through limited budgets which we have. So moving on to a pay for performance kind of a culture far more aggressively. I mean, most of the organizations in their EVP would certainly say that we are a pay for performance organization, but the work practices may not actually reveal that, right? So, and I have shared some of the Wipro practices which we do around all of these. So for pay for performance, we have used our merit salary increase budgets in a far more judicious manner over last 3-4 years, I would say, where employees who are doing well, are performing well, I mean, are critical, are in a customer-facing roles, and where the organizations are in roles where organizations are keen to invest disproportionate amount of resources towards future growth, like digital like the social mobility, analytics, cloud, those streams, uh, those get heavily differentiated. So therefore paying for high performance and high potential, both from employee perspective who are performing high, and where from an organization perspective, areas which they believe are high potential, high growth potential areas. The next point is on differentiation basis, skill based grids. Now this is a perennial struggle, particularly in IT services, where we all believe that yes, skills need to be differentiated, but not too many organizations actually have a fundamental repository of all the skills in the organization, tagging these skills to the each employee in the organization, tracking whether these skills are actually deployed on the job or not. When an employee comes out of a critical skill and moves into a critical role, a critical skills role, and accordingly varying your short-term and long-term incentive plans. So Wipro has been on a skill-based salary grids for quite some time now, and the practice around this gets, I would say, refined with every passing year. And then moving all our work practices towards centered around roles. So our variable pay plan is very clearly differentiating based on roles which people do, people who are on billable roles, people who are on managerial roles, people who are architects, people who are domain specialists, people who are in a consulting role. So all such roles get differentiated in a big way and is manifested through various policies, through various benefits which people enjoy. So those could be one of the, or rather few ways in which you can differentiate rewards through various practices. Moving on to the next slide. Having right pay mix, again something which Dependra referred to. So here I'm just giving a Wipro example where there is an increased demand of having our variable pay a lot more aggressive for certain roles which can make big difference to the organization. So we have identified certain specific roles where we at Wipro give more than average, I would say, variable. The variability in the entire stack is above average, and it ranges from 20 to 25%, and goes all the way up to 35 to 60% for some of the sales role. Moving on to the next slide. Now, while on one hand we say that our variable pay has to go up, but if you ask this question to your own self on how variable is really your variable pay, if the answer to that is if 95 to 98% of employees end up getting 95% of their variable pay, is your variable pay really variable pay, or is it more of just a figure which is there? Now we asked this question to our own self a few years back, and we have been making consistent effort towards making variable a real variable, where we clearly offer it to employees where they see a line of sight of their actions leading to their payouts. Just to give an example, for junior people, they are saying their job is to essentially get themselves billed. Their time gets billed against any productive work that they are doing. So long as they are ensuring that they are getting billed, they'll get their variable pay. As simple as that. But as we move senior, as we move higher up to senior roles in the organization, team lead, managers, consultants, architects, it gets linked to various factors which they directly contribute. So for example, we link it to factors like customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction. At senior levels, it is linked to the revenue and profitability of their projects and accounts. So the better they do on the basic metrics of their account, the better is the variable pay. The next point over here is really the stock option plan. So Wipro has been a proponent of a long-term incentive plan by way of offering restricted stock units. And over years, we have really refined this process of giving stock options, the restricted stock units which we give, to very selective people in the organization which make a long-term impact towards the growth of the organization. So it's a function of their performance potential, where we believe that the organizations need to have a wealth locked in around these individuals, and we continue to get their valuable time and efforts. Moving on to the next slide. This is the slide on ensuring the right staffing mix. And again here, a lot of effort these days goes around what talent to really build and what to buy. Now, hiring people laterally from the market is always an option that the organization has. But is that always the right option to go with? Is a question that we need to continuously keep asking ourselves. And one has to really strike a good balance between what to build within the organization and thereby investing heavily into the trainings which we need to do. So many of these niche skills, and I'm being told by line managers that, look, Wipro is a hunting ground for many of our competitors because they know we train people quite well. But yes, at times we'll have to live with some of those because we believe in building talent for many of these skills, and there is again disproportionate amount of investment which happens in building talent internally. This helps organization not to only retain the talent but also continue to offer higher skill talent at a relatively lower price point. So and there has to be a fine balance between what to buy vis-a-vis what, how much to build. And given the continuously changing skill spectrum, with every passing day there is a newer skill which comes into the market. At times this becomes a fairly challenging task to keep deciding what to really build and what to buy. Talent productivity again continues to be a huge area of focus. Ensuring that we have our people productive, we don't build unnecessary flab in the organization of people who just monitor and oversee activities and are not really adding value to the entire supply chain. So there are continuous initiatives which keep going around monitoring span of control, monitoring hierarchy, assessment of roles. Are they really doing the right kind of roles? Are they in the right role as compared to their skill and experience? Are they over-configured? Are they under-configured? So on and so forth. So ensuring talent productivity is extremely important. So moving on to the next slide. So that's really the audience poll which now I will request Sukrit to take, and then I guess we are approaching the end of the presentation. I'll request Dependra to do the closing statement and the next slide thereafter.
Thank you, Samir. So I would share the next question with everyone in the audience bay. So I'm launching the polls now, and it should be there on your screen now. It's like a very, very attentive audience today. Less than 10 seconds and I have 62% voting done. So we can close this poll a little early and extend the Q&A session post this. So I would, since I've already got 94% of votes in, I would rather close the polls in 20 seconds from now, which we are in a minute in the session. So I will start with the reverse countdown in just about 4 more seconds. So here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm closing the polls now and sharing the results on your screen. Those on YouTube, I would share the results once the session gets over. So I guess Dependra, Samir, you are able to see the results on your screens now?
Yes, I'm able to see that, and it's a very interesting outcome that I can see. And it kind of reflects what is the challenge which a CNB or an HR professional will be going through in his or her organization. Don't worry, we are all in it together. I'm sure that what you face is what the rest of your colleagues who are also on this webinar also face. I'm sure it's Samir also talked about himself facing those challenges, and I also echo the same, that I also face these kind of challenges.
Okay. So I'm hiding the poll results now, and the screen is getting shared. To the next slide.
Dependra, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Sukrit, and thank you, Samir. The employee sentiment in our business is a very important part of our total business. That's primarily on the basis of the fact that in a services company, like Wipro or Infosys or any other services company, the cost of people ranges from anywhere from 45% to 60 or 65% of the revenue, and therefore, people, while they are important from the point of view of employees, also are a huge contributor to profitability and the wellness of the entire organization and the business. And in a scenario where there are a lot of changes which happen in the market, in the internal or the external environment, it's important to have a practice where we keep our ears close to the ground. We keep listening to what is happening. We keep listening and responding to the challenges which our employees might be facing, and we modify our own programs, customize it, or make changes to ensure that we are able to keep up to the expectations of the employees. Because taking care of the employees actually means that you are actually taking care of the business. If you have happy employees, your business will do well. So, it was very happy to see Wipro's practice on employee feedback and employee communication, and we have something also similar at Infosys, where we have periodic surveys, not only at the formal level, but there are a number of dipstick surveys which keep happening by for different sets of people to really understand what's really happening, and that's really the way forward for any organization. Keep listening to your people. So moving on to the next slide, which is primarily summarizing what we've learned or what we've gone through in the last 30 or 35 minutes. The first is that for us to really ensure that we are able to get the best bang for our money, we need to segregate the hygiene and the motivational factors based on our own organization's employee value proposition and channelize talent investments in those areas where we are able to get the maximum impact. And that is really the number one challenge for any HR professional. In today's world, there is nothing called standard rewards. The rewards have to really change based on performance of individuals, based on what are the kind of skills which people are bringing in for those kind of roles which are there in the organization, the criticality of those roles. Variable pay components are important not only from the point of view of maintaining a flexible cost structure, but also to drive behavior in a particular direction. For example, if you would have seen Samir's point on CSAT being the gating criteria, that's a very important factor because it means that the entire organization is now goaled and channelized towards employee satisfaction. And therefore, there would be a lot of other type of behaviors that you really want to put in for the employees and ensure that people do imbibe those kind of behaviors which are right for your business. It's important, of course, to staff appropriately and keep continuously looking at where is the fat, where is the flag, and where is the non-value added activity which is happening in the organization, and how do you kind of rechannelize your talent efforts towards maximum output. And finally, keeping communication lines with the employee open and improvise as needed is really the way forward for ensuring that we are able to get the best bang out of our buck. That brings us to the end of the presentation, and now it's open to, for you for questions, which I believe you must be already passing on to Sukrit via WhatsApp or SMS to his number.
Thank you, Samir. So I have, astonishingly today, again, it seems the attention level is so high that people actually requested me to give them some time to actually write the questions and send it to me post-session. So I'm getting them on a forwarded basis now, which I will be sharing. I would request everyone to kindly direct the questions to the particular panelist if you have some panelists in mind to direct your questions, or else I would open it up for both the speakers together and we'll request them to share their thoughts on that. So the first question that comes to me is from Bipin. Bipin Shin asks how well the output of Gallup quarter Q12 survey can be used in balancing act for total rewards program.
Sukrit, can you repeat the question? I could not hear that properly.
Yeah, I'm
or
sharing
maybe
that
you
question.
could type it in.
Yes, I'm sharing that question with you. I'm just facing one small problem. Yeah, this is the question. So this question comes from Bipin. Bipin is asking how well the outputs from the Gallup Q12 survey can be used in the balancing act for total rewards program.
So this is Samir here. I'm not aware of the Gallup Q12 survey that you are referring to.
I could answer that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So the Gallup, Infosys has been using this Gallup survey in the last few years. The Gallup survey basically talks again about different levels. What are the basic needs? What are, and it's kind of similar to the Maslow's hierarchy in some way. So there are a lot of areas which are there. Now, some of the areas which are around, let's say that do you have the resources? Which is the most basic question, is that do you have the resources to do what you are expected to do? Or the resources could mean anything. It could mean that whether people have the connectivity, whether they are able to work from home, or whether they are able to do things most productively. So there are, each of these questions have an overall understanding or overall link as to where your talent investments may be seeked, there are areas around, do you have the right kind of friends at work? So a friends at work basically talks of a collegial college environment where, people like to, all of us have great memories of our colleges. So do you have that kind of a setup in the office? And if you find that you are scoring low on that you don't have good friends in the office, it means that there have to be a lot of focus on having group activities in the office, maybe fun activities together, so that you are able to get people to bond with each other very well. So I see a lot of questions out of this Q12. At least 7 or 8 questions are directly linked to be interpreted towards the total reward statement.
The next question comes from Brilliant. He's asking, one of the key challenges we have during comp increment is balancing correction vis-a-vis merit increase, which may lead to a higher percentage increase for people with correction. How do we manage employee emotions in such scenarios?
So if I can respond to that, Samir here. These challenges will always be there, and there is no right or just one answer to such scenarios. They will always be there. What one needs to really look at is not everything that is on the lower side of your salary range needs to get corrected and brought up to your median. And that is precisely what the differentiation is all about. So it is therefore the organization's priority and prerogative to really decide who they want to correct and up to what level. So because you should not ideally correct everyone who is at a 10th percentile or a 25th percentile of your salary range and bring them up to the market median if your overall philosophy is to be at a market median, or if it is to be at a market 66th percentile, you need not bring everyone like that. So there has to be a differentiation, and who you therefore correct is a judicious call that one has to take. So that is precisely what doing more with less is all about, where if you have just 100 rupees or $100 to really distribute to your team, instead of distributing 1 rupee to each of these 100 employees, how can you distribute 5 rupees to only 20 employees and still manage it? And employee emotions under such situation have to be managed to the extent that it has to be, the expectations have to be set properly. It has to be backed by your performance management system, objectivity in the goals and objectives that you drive for each of these employees. So managers have to play a very big role in making this happen, and that's why communication is extremely critical.
Dependra, would you like to add something to it, or shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think let's move on to the next question. This is a great question from Brilliant.
Yeah, so I was about to say that it's a brilliant question from Brilliant. Okay, the next question comes from PL Biswas. She's asking, how can we retain talents who have resigned through the mentioned factors?
How can you retain talent who have resigned?
Typically resignation due to compensation issues.
Yeah, I could answer that.
Go ahead, Dependra.
Okay. So the retention of the talent has to happen before the resignation, a formal resignation comes in, because the moment that resignation comes in, then you are on the back foot, and remember that the rest of the organization is looking at you as to how do you respond to that particular resignation, and this would create a behavior which would typically be something that you don't really want to foster. So the important part for for resignations is that compensation may be just one of the triggers, but when people are dissatisfied with work and they go out looking in the market, they will invariably find a job which is higher in compensation. And once they get that job with higher compensation, it becomes difficult for a manager to retain that particular employee. So the best retention basically happens prior to all these things, and if you as HR can partner with your business to understand where are the pain points for employees, what is it that they are looking at different points in time, basically a factor of different strokes for different folks, understand that, and partner with with the manager there to retain the talent. That is the best way of looking at it.
Samir, would you like to add something to that?
No, I think that was a fairly comprehensive response.
Okay, the next question is it's somewhat in continuity with this, where Ratan is asking how is this flexibility managed and how much flexibility is possible?
Flexibility with respect to what?
Probably to the modification that the organization would do in the compensation pattern.
Right, so there has to be right. So there has to be ground rules that the HR team needs to set, and the CNB team in particular, when they roll out any plan or a program in the organization, one of the important expectation is to have a fairly detailed guideline communicated. Once employees start seeing consistency in the way a policy is being rolled out and implemented, the need for flexibility will over a period of time die down. Initially, everybody will feel that, look, this guideline is too generic and I am different, I am special, so there has to be something different or something special for me, or there has to be an exception made for me. But as and we faced that a lot when we had moved to our variable pay plan, which I spoke of during my presentation. But as employees start seeing a consistency in the manner in which a policy gets implemented, the rigor with which it is executed on the ground, the transparency with which it gets communicated, and people speak with each other, so they get to know if it's not being followed in letter and spirit. People get to know that. So that is extremely therefore important, where you build credibility for the policy that you create through actions. And so think 10 times before you launch anything, but once you launch it, make sure you implement it with rigor. So a short answer to this question would be, therefore, flexibility is very limited. Once you have launched it, you define the rules of the game and you follow the rules of the game.
Okay. So in the interest of time, what I would do is I got two questions from Vaishali and Somnath, which are somewhat related. So I will just pull up one question and add Somnath's part to it, that what are the elements that we should look at if we want to roll out variable pay plan for mid-management employees, and how do we decide upon the variable pay for roles which are not customer facing and cannot be measured in terms of revenue achieved?
Okay, so this is also probably in conjunction with this other question that you have, how do variable pay components can drive behavior? So if you talk about variable pay plans, pay plans have a big role in aligning the organization towards common objectives. The common objectives which the organization may be facing over a period of time might not be only financial in nature, but could be something which is around the business transformation, or it could be something which is around client centricity. And any variable pay plan should be linked to ensuring that there is a singleness of purpose, there is a wholeness of purpose. In a middle management scenario where not everybody faces the customer, the fact is that it's only some people who face the customer, but there is a lot of delivery which happens by people who do not face the customer directly, but work very much together to deliver something for the customer. So in this scenario, it is probably best to have a variable pay plan which is around ensuring that a particular client or your particular stakeholder or customers receive the best kind of services through which is measured either through the profitability of the business or through the CSAT of that business, the customer satisfaction of the business. And therefore everybody feels that they are a part of the same team. Somebody could be facing the customer, or somebody could be two paces behind that person who is facing the customer, but everybody's objectives are exactly the same: satisfy the customer and do well for the customer.
So just to add to what Dependra said, at Wipro what we do is for non-customer facing. I mean, here I am assuming when we say customer, we are really talking about the end customer through which the company earns revenue. But frankly, each one of us have a customer. So there is nobody in the organization who is not facing a customer. Even I face my customer who are my internal customers. They are my internal stakeholders. And if there is anyone in the organization who doesn't have a customer, I would really question the necessity of that role itself. But I am therefore assuming that we are talking about functions which are not facing the real customer, but the internal stakeholder. So for such functions, what we have done is, out of all the parameters that we would be really measuring them on, right, we identify one single most important parameter to which that function should get measured against. So for example, the HR function gets measured against attrition. The finance function gets measured against a particular measure which is applicable across, so on and so forth. So the admin function gets measured against one parameter that they gets measured on. So that is how we link it to the tangible outcome that everyone can see, and is that tangible outcome is against the single most important aspect of everyone's role in that function.
Are we able to, can we take one more question, or are we running short of time?
It's okay, I can one more question.
Okay, so this question comes from Tanuja. She's asking, how can the junior management relate to the variable pay plan when they have no line of sight regarding the PBDIT, which is, I'm sorry, from before deduction of income tax, etc. In case their variable pay is dependent on only their individual performance, then what is the fun of a variable pay plan?
So that's a good question from Tanuja.
And I completely agree with that. So a junior person should not be really linked to revenue. That's my personal view, and in Wipro we do ensure that they are not linked to it. They are linked to things which are which they can influence, which is ensuring that they are billed against a particular project. So if it means that they have to train themselves on a particular skill and become billable, they have to do that. But so long as they are just billed against a project, they earn their variable pay.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Samir that one should be only have a variable pay, if at all, at a junior level, if it is something which is linked to a direct outcome by that particular individual. That particular individual has no, relation to revenue or is not able to directly impact revenue and profits of the organization. It's a waste having that revenue because the person will feel rewarded for, if things go well, but if things don't go well, the person will feel unnecessarily penalized.
Thank you, Dependra. Thank you, Samir. So, in the interest of time and while guidance of the speakers, I would request everyone to kindly park their questions for an offline connect. Please do share your questions with me and even with Dependra and Samir because they have been kind enough to share their IDs with you. So, we can expect a few questions coming up to you, Dependra and Samir, because the audience has sent a number of questions to me. So, I would request them to kindly park it for an offline mode, connect with both of you, either through me or directly with you.
Sure. Understood, and thank you very much, Sukrit, and all the people who have been there in this session. Thank you, Samir. It's great, being with you in this panel. Wish you all a great day ahead.
Thank you, Dependra, and thank you, Samir.
Thanks for organizing this. Yep. And I must confess that this was my first ever such online forum that I'm participating in. But I must say that I have thoroughly enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. Thanks for those kind and encouraging, motivating words because this is the support that people like you are providing that HR VLZ is able to sustain itself with such great sessions in the past and more coming up in the future. So I would like to thank you more towards the formal way of doing it, but I would like to thank you for taking your time out from your busy schedule. I know how difficult it was for both of you, but still you guys managed to take out that complete 1 hour and even more than that to ensure that the session is all in the perfect manner. Streaming is all good. You have taken extra pain to get everything done at your office and also. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking such pain and making sure that the session is all good.
Sure. Thanks.
And thank you each and everyone in the audience bay. You have been a great support, great motivation. I will look forward to this support, this continued patronage towards the HR VLZ community, which joins the entire HR community together. We have grown leaps and bounds, and you guys are all a part of the record-breaking number that we achieved for today's session. We had 712 people logging in for the session. That's the count that I got to know. So that's itself a big record for HR VLZ itself. And I will look forward to the same continued support in the future sessions. We have great sessions lined up in future. The next session that's coming is on 30th of April. That is probably going to talk about managing talent management goals effectively through the L&D route. So it's more towards the learning part. So look forward to your support there. Followed by a session with Mr. DP Singh on transformation and HR. And then the CEO session with Mr. D. Sivakumar, the CEO of PepsiCo in June. So lot many sessions planned, lot many activity planned, and I would look forward to the support of each and every one of you for that. And once again, I would like to thank you, Dependra, thank you, Samir, for all the efforts and the great insights that you shared on the theme of compensation and benefit.
Thank you.
So till we meet again, I, Sukrit Ghosh, volunteer moderator of HR Virtual Learning Zone, would like to sign off and wish you all a great weekend ahead and have a blissful life. So thank you each and everyone. See you soon.